Well, all right, Jerry Wagner, we got some news to react to. And the big news this morning is that the Bears have hired Kevin Warren, the Big Ten commissioner. Big Ten just hired a commissioner 4 years ago. And obviously, we'll talk about his tenure a little bit, but I think this makes sense. As a Bears fan, I'm kind of excited because of Kevin Warren's experience in stadium building and moving a team to a state-of-the-art stadium. And the Bears certainly seem like they're going to do that with Arlington Heights, no matter how hard Chicago tries with the Soldier Field. It just makes too much sense from a franchise value standpoint to go to Arlington Heights. So it makes sense for me from that perspective. What do you make of this from the Big Ten perspective?
Yeah, I think we have to discuss like what we think of Kevin Warren's 4 years in charge of the Big Ten, and 2020 was rough, right? I mean, but let's be honest, 2020 was rough for a lot of decision makers in a lot of ways. And I know that's not going to be very popular. I'm trying to say Kevin Warren is getting unfairly criticized for that's not the case at all. I think it was tough, and we're learning as we went a lot in 2020. But if you look at what he did after that, USC and UCLA are coming to the Big Ten. That's a major coup. The TV deal is going to put a lot of money in pockets of programs. Like those are two things that like he's going to have, even though it was 4 years, like those are legacy leaving things in the Big Ten as his job as a commissioner of the Big Ten. So I think that has to be said. Like it wasn't perfect. I know our friend Adam Rittenberg at ESPN had talked about some of the relationships over the course of time and stemming really from that 2020 season. But what's the Big Ten look for, Jeremy? I think that's the question that isn't really just like unique to the Big Ten. It is in the sense that there's a commissioner opening, but you've wondered that across the other power conferences. You saw what the Pac-12 did in hiring. You saw, I think, the Big 12 also, if I'm not mistaken. So which direction does the Big Ten want to go moving forward with this new commissioner?
Yeah, let me get back to, I feel like Kevin Warren's a better fit for the Bears than he is for the Big Ten, to be honest with you. And I'll get into Kevin Warren's tenure here, but Kevin Warren's kind of this corporate figure, right? When he gets in front of a microphone, he's not that impressive, but he does understand modern business and modern big business. I think we've seen that in the past year or two as his Big Ten commissionership has gone along. And I think his Big Ten stewardship here is very complicated, right? The first year was rough. And we've kind of caveated it at saying like he took over during a global pandemic. That was not easy. I think he made the decisions he thought were of the best interest of student athletes, of coaches, of everyone involved. But it was clear he did not build consensus, that he did not have the relationships or didn't build the relationships in his first year, whether he could or not due to the pandemic. He just did not coalesce this conference, and it was messy. That was a messy year when you saw the SEC kind of all on board, even if you disagreed at the time of, is the SEC, should they play, should they not play? The Big Ten just didn't have consensus. You had coaches speaking out. You had AD speaking out. And it's like, who's leading this? And that looked bad on Kevin Warren. So certainly was missteps there, even if he was well-intentioned. But whether you want to give him all the credit or not, his last couple of years have gone really well, right? I think he set the Big Ten on great foundation when you get that media rights deal, which most commissioners in that job have to get that done, but he did. He should get credit for that. And then to accept UCLA and USC into the conference, whether you think that should be Kevin Warren, like he didn't say no. He didn't screw that up, Joey. So the Big Ten, after Kevin Warren is here, after taking over the big shoes of Jim Delaney, like Kevin Warren put it on a good path. I feel like in the long term, the Big Ten could be in better position here because I feel like Kevin Warren lost a lot of I guess, leadership. And, that first start, it just felt like this was never going to be a great fit, but he rebounded and now he moves on to the NFL. I think he's got an eye on the NFL commissioner job eventually, but I think this is good for the Bears. For the Big Ten, though, it does leave them a little tenuous, right? Like this is an important time in college athletics. And maybe because you have the TV deal done, because you have USC and UCLA coming in, but that's still a process they got to get used to. Interim leadership is going to be really important in the short term. And then long term, I agree with you. What do they look for? Do they look for somebody who's more familiar? Do they look for somebody who's less corporate, less just put a person in somebody's suit? Because that's what it felt like Kevin Warren was. I felt like we never really knew who Kevin Warren actually was if you sat down and had a beer with him. The name everyone's going to bring up, and understandably so, is Jim Phillips, because he made sense the first time. He still makes sense to me. He knows this conference. He has the respect of all the athletic directors. And Rittenberg did point this out. Like, it is a completely different group of chancellors and presidents. Robert Jones, the Illinois president or chancellor, who's only been there for 5-6 years, something like that. He is the eldest statesman on the chancellors and presidents. So it's going to be interesting to see if they want something different than Kevin Warren.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by that. And Jim Phillips is a name that you're right. Like, comes to mind. It's going to come to mind for everybody. But do they look for? I don't know. Like, I just don't know. Is this a pause in the Big Ten in terms of, like, you know, like you said, you got the TV deal that's secure. Like, does that alter if this would have happened a year ago? Right? Like, I don't know what that looks like. Do you go with more of like what the Pac-12 did? Like, the Pac-12 went way out there, and we'll see how that turns out. Like, I don't know, because so much is changing and has changed and it's going to continue to change. Is that going to, I don't know, man. It's really interesting to see which direction they go. I know Illinois fans we saw on our message boards we got to bring it up, right?
Yeah, go for it.
Illinois on our message, people on our message board said, should there be a concern about Josh Whitman? Josh Whitman's really, really polished in front of a microphone. He's a very, very smart man. And he's a forward thinker. Those are all the qualities, right? Like, Josh Whitman has the qualities. I just think there's a lot of people who are going to have interest or be interested in that job who would maybe make more sense than Josh Whitman. And, I don't know, man. But I don't think I would lose sleep over that, right, if I were an Illinois fan.
You brought up a great point. Pac-12 Commissioner George Kliavkoff, what were his former jobs? He was in Major League Baseball, was at TV networks, was at MGM Resorts International. These are entertainment conglomerates, right? It's not an athletic director position. Brent Yormack, the new Big 12 commissioner. He had business positions at Palace Sports and Entertainment, Cat Sports, NASCAR, Brooklyn Sports and Entertainment, and Rock Nation. These aren't the athletic directors rising up. Does the Big Ten go with that model of, hey, Jim Phillips was the ACC commissioner, he was an athletic director, knows these things? Or do they go with somebody who is more of the huge TV network background, corporate sports entertainment background? That'll be very interesting to watch. But outside of Phillips, Warren, Yormack, Kliavkoff, I can never pronounce that name. Like, those guys are all like entertainment based, not athletic director backgrounds. So it'll be interesting to see if the Big Ten bucks that trend. On Josh Whitman, like, I think he's very capable. I think he's very capable of that job. Does he want that job? I don't know. Certainly you could have a huge impact, but his heart is obviously in Illinois. I know that, but if you want in your life to make a big impact on college athletics, and Josh Whitman cares deeply about college athletics, that's certainly a job you could do. But there are more senior Big Ten athletic directors who maybe could be at that position, though that's changed a lot here recently. But I think he's capable of doing the job, but I just feel like these commissioner jobs have gone away from that. They've gone more towards what we've been talking about, kind of these corporate TV network kind of people.
Well, what is long-term? I think it was Adam Rittenberg, who's been all over this, which is unsurprising. Yeah, he's really, really good. What's Jim Delaney was 30 years, right? Like, what's the shelf life of a Power 5 or a college commissioner at this point? Is it 30 years? That seems like it probably isn't the case. I don't know. Maybe that's too soon to say that. But is it more of that 7 to 10 years new leadership, 7 to 10 years new leadership model? In which case, like, call me in 7 to 10 years. Like, that would be like, if you're thinking of Whitman, like 7 to 10 years down the road, if that's the model it goes, or is the Big Ten looking for its next Jim Delaney and the next 30-year guy or whatever the case is? I don't know if there's a market for that at this point anymore. It's just it's just a lot to be a commissioner. And not that it wasn't previously, but there's so many questions I have, just both in the state of what the commissioners of Power 5 leagues, the qualities that people are after, and just how long do they want to be in this position before you just keep refreshing new ideas with new people and the commissioners are ready to move on. I don't know, man.
This is one of the best jobs in college sports, though.
Yes. Oh yeah.
This is one of the, if you want leadership in college sports, we just saw Governor Charlie Baker of Massachusetts become the NCAA committee. Like this is a more powerful job. This is a Big Ten and SEC commissioner are the most powerful jobs in college athletics, which makes them two of the most powerful jobs in all of sports, in American sports, right? Outside of the NFL commissioner job, maybe the NBA commissioner job. So it's just massive how big of a job this is in the college sports landscape, which means they'll get really good candidates as they did the last time around.